Good evening or good afternoon rather. Thank you for joining us.
Good afternoon, Nikunj.
I normally see you in the
Thank you.
morning show. First time I'm seeing you in the afternoon show actually.
Thanks to you, I think you invited me today in the afternoon.
No, I was just thinking that markets are so vibrant, might as well keep you not busy on the television screen, but give you time to stand in front of the computer screen and make money. And your smile is telling me that it's been a good ride for you.
Thank you, Nikunj.
So what have you been? Where have you been active in this market? Have you identified anything in this volatile environment which looks good for next couple of quarters?
Yes, I think the approach, I think we kept it very simple. I think we followed some of the companies, I think, where the beating has taken place maximum. And that would possibly include, I think, the list of companies in IT space, where we saw the likes of Infosys, likes of TCS, even for that matter, I think some of the mid-tier IT companies like LTIS and I think Mindtree, those kind of companies, we felt that I think it's probably the right time because of the correction in the price. One should be focusing on. So in last few weeks, I think when the my market price correction was continuing in some of these counters, I think we ended up accumulating these companies, and that's what I think we would like to believe that going forward, given the kind of I think environment which we have, in which I think the larger part of requirement would be to rebuild the businesses using the IT, be it I think through the use of 5G, be it through the use of cloud computing, AI, etc. I would think that I think the IT space I think would be most I think sought after space. Plus, I think the business models of I think the user industry is changing. They are more I think becoming IT is becoming more of a I think the P&L item vis-a-vis I think the capex item in the balance sheet. So all in all put together, I think we keep tracking some of the large contracts which they win, and I think keep adding I think some of the companies into the portfolio, which I believe that 15, 20% or 25% appreciation from the bottom is distinctly possible over 12 to 15 months time in some of the companies.
Let's look at the IT framework and what do we have now that we've heard from the big four, TCS, Infosys, Wipro, and HCL Tech. What are the brokerages in a sense indicating? Now bear in mind that Infosys upgraded their guidance, Wipro cut their guidance, HCL Tech increased their guidance, but they cut their margin outlook. So let's look at a grid which will capture that what Indian IT companies or what brokerages have done and how that bad. I'm keeping Wipro out of the equation. Infosys increased guidance, HCL Tech increased guidance, rupee is a tailwind, yet brokerages have not upgraded their price targets for the IT sector per se. Why is that?
So I think one of the important point I think which most of the brokerages are considering is inflow of money into the markets in general. I think today the situation is that global players, the investors, stroke traders, ETFs, hedge funds included, I think are the ones who are basically pulling out the money for the variety of reasons I think which is known to all of us. I think as a result of which when the inflow of money is restricted, even though the strong fundamentals of the company and the guidance given along with, I think is not helping. I would think that I think till the time we see this normalcy returning into the markets as far as I think the sustained flow of money coming into the markets, I would think that I think the allocation would be always doubtful. And as a result of which, I think the brokerages are probably not increasing the guidance. Re-rating happens on two counts. One, of course, on fundamentals, important. But more importantly, these days, I think the re-rating also happens because of the liquidity into the system. If higher the liquidity, definitely, I think the re-rating in the valuation is on cards. I would think that I think let one quarter go. Probably some amount of stability happens, I think, is expected on the fund side, inflow side. As a result of which, I think you should be seeing relatively better times going forward as far as the valuations are concerned.
Nikunj, you wanted to make an observation on...
Star today is BHEL, 9.5% higher for BHEL, and it's giving Suzlon is giving BHEL some company. Deven bhai, I'll take my chances with this entire Suzlon right issue. A lot of HNI investors are into Suzlon right issue. Have you done some work on it?
Actually, Nikunj, I think other than I think the available information, I think not major work, but I think more importantly, I think after having seen the restructuring and also I think now seeing the new order inflows coming into the company, it is giving me a reasonably good amount of confidence that I think this right issue will sail through first. And once I think it gets sailed through, probably I think you might see some kind of a possibility of the company being taken over. So that is one good possibility I'm seeing and observing right now. Because the opportunity cannot be better than what it is currently, as far as I think the business condition is concerned. And maybe I think in the earlier years, for whatever reasons, due to the balance sheet issues or due to I think whatever the pricing policy issues of the government, this company suffered. I would think that I think the coming period, the company probably deserves to be relatively better placed, and particularly when I think it is in the hands where I think there the amount of higher capital can be infused by the promoters. This company could possibly, I think, a good bet to bet on at this point of time.
Okay. The right issue is coming at a substantial discount to the current market price. And I don't know at what price the right issue is trading at. Normally what happens is that if existing shareholders are not keen in subscribing to the right issue trades in the open market. In case of some companies where the right issue sometimes trades at a premium. It has happened in some of the right issues of Tata group of companies, Tata Motor for that matter. Even Reliance, I think in COVID, the right issue was trading at a premium. But I'm not so sure on case of Suzlon what the price of right issue is. So I'm going to skip this one. PNB, it's coming back. It's coming back, an entire PSU banking space, and with the exception of, let's say, one or two PSU names, all PSU banks today are moving up in a synchronized manner. Deven bhai, what's your view on PNB? Now everybody is bullish on SBI, BOB, Union Bank, but PNB is the odd one out. It has suffered in the past because of lending challenges. They still have little bit of ironing out issues in terms of asset quality, but at 38 rupees, the market's pricing that in because PNB is a large bank in terms of size and reach.
Yes, and absolutely spot on. I think if you look at the checklist, I think you find that, okay, first the balance sheet restructuring happen, the answer is yes. If the liability side, I think, is properly managed right now, I think the answer is yes. If the lending book, as far as I think the company's business is concerned, I think is growing, the answer is yes. So I think from all perspectives, including I think management of operations compared to earlier years, I think the answer is yes. I think as far as many of the PSBs are concerned, including PNB. So from a perspective of looking at, I think, the business of the company, according to me, I think the worst seems to be behind these companies, and definitely I think the better times are ahead for them. More importantly, I think, which is I think something which I count on very well, corporate sector borrowing, I think, has started going up. It could be for one or two reasons. One important reason is that government is spending money on infrastructure, and a result of which I think the companies which are the suppliers to this infrastructure activity are required to grow their capacities, and as a result of which I think the borrowing is increasing. The second most important area is that I think because of the higher prices of raw material, for whatever reasons, I think the prices of raw material, industrial commodity, as well as other commodities prices have gone up. I think as a result of which working capital requirements have gone up for this company. And once again, I think it's a good business for the banks. On the other side, the CASA ratios have been managed well. I think the deposits are at lower cost because they are predominantly, I think, buying deposits, I think, from rural sector. So to a greater extent, I would think that I think the balance sheet is clean now. So obviously, I think that things could be better from here onwards. And the price-wise downside risk is limited given the valuation at which the bank is quoting. So maybe I think some re-rating definitely is possible and it's on the cards.
Okay. Rudramurthy, on PNB, what is your view?
Nikunj, for me, PNB definitely last 2 days, it has also participated along with other PSU bank, and this stock definitely will face resistance at around 40 to 41 levels, which it has found resistance in the last move on the upside. So I will still prefer either an SBI or I will prefer a Canara Bank if I have to buy a PSU bank. And chart wise, both SBI as well as Canara Bank still has more steam left out. So I will definitely not pick PNB as my top pick from a PSU bank. I will first pick SBI Can Bank, and PNB is just a stock which can head towards 40-41 zone, and I would definitely advocate someone who has PNB to switch to SBI or to Canara Bank.
Aisha has always wondered.
From my shoulder.
Aisha has always
on.
wondered the initials CA Rudramurthy. What do they stand for? With all due respect.
Nikunj wants to know whether you're a chartered accountant or not. That was also one of the confusions.
Yeah. CA is my chartered accountancy and my initial is BV. So I'm a qualified chartered accountant.
Okay, thank you. Thank you for
Sakshti
that.
B.V. Rudramurthy.
Yes, yes. No, no, it's just that when we are curious, we always ask questions. We ask questions for a living. We are television anchors, so that's why I asked this question. Deven Choksey, I can see you shaking your head. You want to be part of this conversation?
Well, I think I can always smile because I think sitting as a fellow chartered accountant here, I think I can always smile.
Oh, we have a family going thing. We have a family tree going now.
Yeah.
But so, Rudramurthy, from CA to technical analysis, quite a journey.
Nikunj, but one thing I would love to share, market does not consider you as a chartered accountant and give you any different style of a brush or something. So for market, whether you are a CA or a non-CA, it is all the same. But then yes, CA gives me that edge in terms of understanding numbers much better, fundamentally too. But then as a technical analyst also, when I see numbers and purely when I see charts, right? So that definitely gives me an edge. But still market does not consider you as a CA or a non-CA. It is all the same for markets.
Deven, before we thank you, you may not have an opinion, but just wondering, after the 43% rise that we've seen in Gautam Adani's net worth last somewhat, you think he has potential, or his stocks have that potential to make him richer in the year ahead as well?
Yeah, I think irrespective of the timing that it will take, I think for going into the new territory, I would think that I think each of the business verticals and the companies rather, I think that they have got a significantly large amount of cash generating possibilities. We look at companies like Green, where I think your EBITDA margins would be upwards of 95-98%. You look at companies like Transmission, again, I think the EBITDA margin would be 95-98%. Seven, except some new acquisition that they've done in ports, I think the margins have come under a little bit of pressure, but otherwise, I think they would be somewhere around 70% vicinity of EBITDA margin. What I'm trying to say is that I think in infrastructure business, having spent earlier 20 years, I think in building those businesses, now I think those assets which they have built, I think are generating sufficient amount of cash flows for the company. And it is this cash flow which is basically driving the new set of growth where the demand scenario is emerging and emerging very, very strong. As long as I think the over leveraging is not taking place, and as long as I think the company is staying with a disciplined growth, in my viewpoint, I think this company could compound wealth in subsequent years also because of the strong base of infrastructure that they have built in last years.
Right. Deven Choksey, always great to have you on the show. Thanks for taking the time out and joining in. We're going to take a very quick break on that note at the highest